very dear student of mine, Cindy Phillips, called me, and we do keep in touch. And I always also kept in touch with her because her mom, Bonnie Phillips, goes in the math department, and you know Bonnie Phillips worked at Queens College for many years, and I loved working with her. And I don't think I knew right away that Cindy was Bonnie's daughter. But anyway, so Cindy was one of our incredible students and very creative, always doing incredible stuff, doing stuff with the calculator and whatnot. And so she invited me to her school because she was doing something special that she wanted me to see and be a part of in some way. And the school is in White Plains. It's White Plains High School, right? It looks more like a college. It's so magnificent. There's a bunch of buildings. It's really beautiful. It wasn't a great ride there, but
It never is. It never is.
But I was glad I made the trip, and I don't think I'll tell you more about it because I think I'll let Cindy tell you. It was a wonderful experience, and I said when I came back, and I had a T-shirt from it, and I said to Naomi, I think we have next year's speaker. So why don't you come up, Cindy?
Hello, can I get somebody to turn off the middle light that's up there? I think that's, yes, it's much more romantic, thank you. The older you get, the better that light looks. I'm just finishing my 23rd year teaching. I feel the same way. It goes much faster than you think. I cannot believe it has been that long. And at the same time, I still can't believe there's this much time left. But that's okay, I'm going to enjoy every minute of it. And I graduated, we think 2002, I don't know when I graduated. How I got here, I was working at a bank, on the trading floor of a bank, and it was robbing me of my soul. And I called my mom, and I was like, oh, this is terrible. I said, I have to go back to school. I said, I really want to be a computer programmer. Like, I really got into that in college right before, I left, and it was a little too late. I said, Mom, just get me, it was too late, use the connections, get me into Queens College. She goes, well, the Pascal course, because it was Pascal, the Pascal course is closed, but why don't you take an education course? I go, Mom, I don't want to be a math teacher. I hate kids. She's like, just do it, just take the class. And I said, fine, I'll take the class. Anything to get me out of being at work. So I show up, and on the first day, there's Dr. Arts, and she's, going around the room, and like, what brings you here, and why do you want to be a math teacher? And I'm like, I really want to be a computer programmer, but the class was closed, so I figured, I'd just show up. She just looks at, if you've had her, she just looks at you with that one sparkling blue eye, and she goes, okay. Well, welcome. And by the end of that hour and a half class, I knew that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, because she's very cunning. Very convincing, this queen over here. That's how I wound up at Queens College, a little bit of nepotism and some forceful, tiny woman. I don't know what to do with my life. I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I think women should be honored in mathematics and in calculus. But first, if you don't mind, I'm going to give you guys something to do just because you've been sitting here for a while. So I'm going to have some of you. You can give these. What happened? Do you want help? Oh, they're going to help me. You guys can give these to anybody you want. Just make it snappy. Just move it along. Some of us have to work tomorrow. Give them to anybody you want. Anybody you want. Give them out. Doesn't matter. Give one to yourself. It's okay. If you've received the number, I would like you to stand up in the back of the room in numerical order, please. One can stand by Naomi. are really spreading the wealth. I like that too. They could have just given it to you. So you're like, go over there, go over there. Can we get the 1 over here and the 30 over there? Or are we doing it backwards? All right, you know what? You do you, whatever you want. As long as it's numerical. We're good. Okay. 1, 2, 3. How's this going? This is the easy part. How are we doing? Number 1 is taking charge. He's like, I am number 1. Oh, that's good. Are we almost there? Are we almost there? Okay, this is great. Number 30 is missing. Do we have a 30? If we don't have a 30, it's okay. 30 has been squandered. We're good? Okay. Oh, my second. 30's missing. That's okay. We'll live. Okay. So I'm sure many of you know this problem already. Do you know the locker? Raise your hands if you know the locker problem. If you know the locker problem, don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone. So this is how the locker problem goes. There's 100 lockers. They're numbered consecutively like you guys, but I did not feel like 100 would be appropriate. And they're all closed. The student comes by and opens all of the lockers. So currently, you all represent closed lockers. I would like to take everybody who is a multiple of 1 to step forward. Good. You are now open? You are now open lockers? Okay, fine. The second student comes by, and for every even numbered locker, multiples of 2, the student opens it if it's closed and closes it if it's open. So you are all currently open. So multiples of 2 are going to be closed. You're going to take 1 step backward. Make it a giant step backward. Remember where you are. This pattern is going to continue until the student goes by multiple 3, multiple 4. Don't do it yet. Don't do it yet. So if you are open, you will close if you are a multiple, and you will close if you're open if you're a multiple. Does that make sense? People in the audience, we might want to help them out. Okay. What are we up to? Multiple of third student comes by and multiples 3. So multiple of 3. What do we say? Change parity? Does that work? Yeah, fine. Okay. Multiple of 3, go. If you're open, close, and if you're closed, open. Who moved? Who should have moved? Every multiple of 3. Okay. Do we need help in that regard? No? Ready? Multiples of 4, move. Multiples of 5, move. Multiples of 6. Multiples of 7. How far do we have to go? 100. Multiples of 8. Tell me when I can stop. Multiples of 9. Multiples of 10. Multiples of 11. Multiples of 12. 13. 14. 15. 16. 17. 18. 19. 20. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. The people in front, are you open or closed? I forgot. You're open. Who's open? Perfect squares. Can somebody explain why the perfect squares would be open?
Every math person.
Yes!
Open lockers, yeah.
Round of applause for everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you. You can all say you're done. You can keep your numbers, you can frame them, you can put them on your fridge. Good job, good team. I know that many of you have seen that problem. I saw that problem when I first started teaching. That's how I make that problem visible for students. So, where did this idea come from? A luncheon to honor women, young women in calculus. First of all, I want to start off by saying this is not anti-man. I love men. My mom's right there. She will confirm this. One day, a student walked in my room. She's beautiful, beautiful young girl, and she throws down her book bag in a huff and says, "Oh, if I had $1 for every time some boy thought I was found out I was good at math, I'd be rich." And I said, "Don't worry, sweetheart. If I had $1 every time somebody found out I was a calculus teacher, I'd be rich too." And we all know where that comes from. It's meant to be a compliment. When people look at me, you know, I'm petite, I think I'm still kind of cute, and they just go, oh, you're a teacher. Oh, you teach English. No, I don't. Oh, do you teach elementary school? And I'm like, oh, I'm like a tiny little woman, so I must teach little kids or talk about my feelings all day. No, I teach math. It really ate at me. It really bugged me. And I just said, no, that's ludicrous. That's absolutely disgusting. And I got just very upset. I said, you know what? This has got to change here. That's where it came from for me. Why should we take the time to honor young women in calculus? Forgive me, this is the only slide I promise I'll read. In my school, it just so happens that the enrollment in calculus classes, and by that I mean AB, BC, non-AP, calculus, we have multivariable calculus, because I got sucked into teaching that one, is about equal, which is really exciting, except the rates of science and engineering courses taken for girls and women shift at the undergraduate level. So although it is often the case that at high schools it can be 50-50, but as soon as they leave it is not. The gender disparities emerge really quickly and are worse for minority women. At the high school level, female and male students took AP, this is not my high school, this is in the country. Female and male students took AP exams in AB, statistics, and chemistry at about the same rates in 2013. However, males were more likely to take advanced 8-level AP classes, including BC, calculus, physics B, and physics C. In the workforce, women make up half the total U.S. college-educated workforce, but only 29% in the science and engineering workforce. This is also very upsetting to me. So I decided to throw this luncheon, and you're like, what happens at a calculus luncheon? Well, at my calculus luncheon, the kids come into a female-empowered music playlist. I had some kids help me pick out some songs. It's really hard to find women empowerment songs that aren't about dumping a man, but we tried, and I think we succeeded. There we had a Snapchat filter. You can buy a Snapchat filter for like the event time for like $10, and the kids all took pictures with their Snapchat. I'm not a fan of Snapchat, but they really like it. And that was super fun. We got t-shirts made up, and the kids all showed up in their t-shirts and were super adorable. This year's t-shirt featured the words of Agnesi, and featured a quote by Malala, which is always great. There are two powers in the world. One is the sword and the other is the pen. There is a third power stronger than that of women, which I really love. I think that's very powerful. We had like fun math activities. So we had like a Kahoot. Do you guys know about Kahoot? Like, you know, they love the Kahoot, boy. It's like a little online quiz thing, and it had some math questions that one of the kids had made up. Golden ratio questions, or some PEMDAS. There was the question from, that was the math movie with, the limit does not exist, that one, what is that? Yeah, Mean Girls quote, they love that one. We had a little fun math activity. Last year we had, I don't remember what the activity was, well, that was one of the activities, and I don't remember what the other activity was. But this year I decided to get some kids involved, and they came up with some activities, which was great. So they learned about Mobius strips, because I get that, you know, that's not in the geometry curriculum. I don't know if anybody teaches about Mobius strips, but when they do their little half twist and they cut along the line, and then surprise, I'm not going to ruin it for you, but they really liked that. That was super fun. This young lady, even know, can I click on that? How does this work? I'm afraid if I click on it, it's never gonna come back. Nope, hold on. Nope, never mind, it was fine. She was already, we did this on the first day of Women's History Month, and she had created this women's empowerment activity where all of these paper dolls were cut out and young women wrote other young women inspirational, yeah, if you can, okay, as long as you can get it back. I can't. Let's see, can you click, yeah, a little video of, you know, a good 100 or so empowering notes to young women from young women that were put in the center of the school. And she led that activity. How do I get that? You're just gonna do it. Can you come follow me around my life?
I already do that.
Timeshare or something. And this is one of my young ladies that is involved in multivariable calculus. We have a double accelerated program going on. She's a rock star, that girl. And then this young lady decided she wanted to learn and teach about hexaflexagons. Raise your hands if you know about hexaflexagons. Oh, you should go look up they're super fun. You should look them up. And she led that activities. It was great to have the girls involved. We have a guest speaker. This guest speaker was a parent in the community who offered to come in. She was big in finance and talked about how much math meant to her and what it did for her. And she said she's from China, and she's like, oh, you know, we were young, we played the 24 game. Can I play the 24? Take the 24 game for a little while. The kids have never really done that. They really like that. I wrote my own speech where I basically talked about how I got into mathematics and some of the things that I faced from people growing up. And I always felt very supported as a mathematician, except that when I got to college and I was struggling because college is hard and high school was not for me, that I was basically my advisor. I went and I said, you know, I'm not really doing very well. Like, what do you think I should do? And he goes, well, maybe you should quit. Not necessarily the wrong answer there. I was doing very badly. But just to talk about my road and to talk about the history of women in mathematics, how women weren't allowed to study mathematics for a very, very long time. They had to use male pseudonyms. They had to, there was one, and of course I forgot her name, it might have been Kovalevsky, I can't remember, but she was forced, her parents found out that she wanted to study math, and they were so angry with her that they would turn off any heat in the house, and they turned off her lights, and she had to study like naked and like in the dark, just to, and we don't have to do that anymore, so we shouldn't. And one of the things I say to them is that, sadly I can't do this earlier in the year. I'm only inviting kids who are in calculus and up, so they're seniors, they're already ready to go. And I say to them, you know, you guys spend a lot of time comparing yourselves to one another, right? Even the smartest kids in the class will say, well, I'm stupid, and that one's really smart. I'm like, you're all in calculus. It doesn't matter if you're in AB, it doesn't matter if you're in BC, it doesn't matter if you're in non-AB, you're in calculus. Most people never get this far. You're good at math. You think you're bad. You are not bad. And it's your responsibility that you tell people that you're good at math. And it's your responsibility, even if you never go any further, to tell your daughters that you are good at math, to tell your kids that you are good at math. That's really important to sort of try to change people's perspectives, that it's really cool to not be good at math and that they aren't good enough if they're not getting the 98 in the class. So I spent a lot of time talking about that, and they find that very empowering. They say to find, oh, you know what? I guess I am good. I never, you know, if you have kids in your calculus class and they're tutoring kids in other classes, they're usually only surrounded by other smart kids. And they don't know what other kids are like. And I spend some time with some different people, and you'll see how good at math you are. So I do spend a lot of time talking about that. And I make a big deal of it. And I tell them, you know what, you're allowed to study math now. So maybe when you get to college, even if you don't, you know, even if you don't decide that that's what you're gonna do, maybe you should take a math class because you don't have to do it naked by candlelight. They think that's funny. We They, they love cake. You can get a Costco cake for $20 and it's magnificent. So how does one make this event happen? Money, I know many of you are probably like, yeah, but you're in a fancy Westchester school. Your school has some money. That is not the case. We are in a suburban, urban school district that's super diverse. We have a lot of kids with no money. We have kids with lots of money. The district gives money to what it wants. I filled out 2 grants. I got a grant to our PTA. If your school has a PTA, they probably have some money for you. There's also a local organization, ours is called the Friends of White Plains. It's an outside community organization that just loves giving money to service projects and things like that. There's key clubs, there's lots of money available, especially if you use the code word women and mathematics, and especially if you throw in getting students of color to become more involved. They will throw money at you. I did not have to work that hard to get it, to be honest. Now, ours is a luncheon. I think I spent for 90 people, I think I spent on food maybe $600, and I got t-shirts funded. They were about $6 a pop. The kids were going to pay for it, but I got money for it. So a luncheon for $600, you might be able to do that. If you can't do a luncheon, maybe a breakfast. Go get muffins, go get cakes, go get some pizza. These kids were like, the lunch was great, but next time maybe you should get pizza. And I was like, no, you're gonna eat a real meal. I'm gonna buy you a real meal. What about no French fries? So I do, if money is your concern, you can find people to give you money if you think ahead. Support from your administrators, that's incredibly important, going up to them and telling you have this great idea. It's super helpful. Support from the community. And then going up to, I got a list of every child who is enrolled in calculus, whether I taught them or not, and made them do you guys, are you aware of Remind.com yet? Remind, when you become a teacher, it's an online, they opt in, and you can send them kids don't RSVP now, they don't know what that means to be polite. So I'm like, if you want to show up, you have to RSVP. And I would go to their classrooms and be like, hi, I'm Miss Phillips. When someone says they want to buy you lunch, you say yes. And they're like, who is this lady? So I just kept walking around until I got 100% involvement from my entire school. They're like, what is this? I'm like, it's gonna be fun, I'm buying you lunch. Oh, and by the way, you get out of 3 classes that day. They're like, okay, I'm in. I think I went over the event costs for me. I feel like you can do this for less money. What were your reactions? I made them do a little write-up, an anonymous write-up at the end, and it was very overwhelmingly positive. And the one that I got at the bottom, now considering becoming a math teacher, I knew I had done the right thing.
Tell her about Time 2000.
Yeah, you know what, that really started right as I was paying for my own education. But no, it was definitely overall, it doesn't take much to tell somebody, hey, you're smart at math, you just don't think so. And they go, oh, maybe I am smart. That's all it took. That's all it took. How can you make this happen at your school? About talking about the money, it really, it looks good. The optics are really good for schools to do something like this. They were super proud to have that involved. It's just as simple as going to your administrator and asking for a list of young women involved in calculus. A gentle reminder, and this is my own personal politics, and if I offend anybody, I'm sorry, but it is Pride Month, and I would like to say that I believe that trans women are women, and that you should go out of your way to try to find them if they are not already provided to you. What can you do to support young women in mathematics? I've written just a couple of things down. Teachers, and this came up today, so I'm glad. You should be on the lookout for people who don't feel confident and remind them that they're good at mathematics. Because sometimes all it takes is you go, you're really good at this. And they go, really? And then they see themselves differently in just one conversation. I have a young woman who, she's a young Black woman, and she was in my pre-college honors class, and we were talking about next year, and she said, yeah, next year I think I'm just gonna do AB. And I go, you're ridiculous, you're taking BC. That's insane, you're insane. She goes, really? You think I can do it? And I'm like, yeah, you can do this. She got a 5. It is a couple of years later, and she sends me a message and says, I just want to let you know I've just been given a full ride to get my PhD in Columbia for biomedical engineering. And she's pretty spectacular. And I've gotten a number of people where I find that young women, often young women of color, don't necessarily feel, they want, like I go up to them and just go, you should really do this. And sometimes they, really? Yeah, you should do this. And then they get 5 on the BC and they're like, oh, well, I guess I could do this. That's neat. Okay, that happened a lot, and sometimes it just takes one sentence. I like to say be complimentary and encouraging, but don't placate. Right? Find the people that really deserve the compliments and give it to them, but look for them. Women teachers. I see a lot of ladies. Hello, ladies. Hi. You be that person. You be that leader. You ask for the classes. You're at the top. You teach calculus. You teach honors. You be the face that they're going to remember as somebody who was at the top. I never thought to ask. Someone came up to me and said, I think you'd be good at this. And I would have never considered asking for it myself. I now teach 3 levels of calculus. Nobody else wants to do that at my school. And now I've stuck with it because someone saw something in me. Administrators. Do I have any administrators in the house? No? I know I have one. I was like, you will be administrators one day. Some of you, it is not for me. But hire strong, independent women mathematicians. Make sure they have a voice. So I think that is almost the end. There's always this question. I do have, I love my boys too. And it's not fair. Okay. First year I gave them, I called it a man cake. I was like, here you go, boys. Have a man cake. Enjoy yourselves. Can anyone in the audience conjure up a response for a young man who might say, this isn't fair? Maybe it's not fair. Yes.
That we are trying to rebalance the pendulum that so long went in one direction.
I like that. Yes.
I say they can throw their party. If you want a party, throw one.
Does anybody else have a suggestion? The gentlemen are silent. Oh, you think about it. I had my response. I'm sure you can come up with your own. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about logistics, about why, about how it went? No, they're tired. This is teacher time. It's 9 o'clock. Half of them are in pajamas at this point. Okay. This is my group of girls, and this is my email address. I would love nothing more for this to spread. I'm in the process of trying to start, I think it's a 503(b) at a charitable organization, and have a scholarship attached to this for my school. I would love for anybody here who is interested in doing something like this to connect with me. I don't want money from you. I don't want it. We're building a website right now, and I would just love to connect with other people who think this is a good idea and wants to do this at their school. We will feature it on our website. If you want any more information, please contact me. My name is Cindy Phillips. You can contact me there. Thank you so much for your time and good luck.
Spread a little time 2000.
Oh, I love this. Oh my God. That's great. Thank you.
I just want you to know, I went to one of her luncheons, and I can't tell you, that whole room full, all of these people, they were waiting online to hug Cindy. And one of them actually came up to me, because Cindy had mentioned that I was her teacher. One of them came up to me and said, I just want to thank you for inspiring her to become a teacher. Because now she's our teacher. And that for me was one of the greatest compliments. So we're all in the business of inspiring. So I hope this night has given you a little more uplift to what you're doing. And I want to thank you again for what you're doing. And always keep in touch. You know where I am, QC Arts Ditchingham. And I'm always here. I'm always here thinking about you and wishing you well. Keep doing the good work. I love you all.